Hello, new emerging and established writers. Welcome to your Writer's Warm-Up with Jesse Stong from Playwright's Workshop, Montreal. Hello, how are you? I hope my mic is working today. Let me know if it's not in the comments. If I can get through today, I can get through anything. I have one kid here napping currently who had a temper tantrum this morning. I have an elderly cat who's constipated and meowing. Actually, let's see if Fly's gone back to bed. He went back to bed. It's a miracle. Oh, thank God. He's back in bed. Okay, good. He was meowing for the last 10 minutes. So today we're doing a structural activity. Hello, say hi in the comments if you can. Feel free to say anything in the comments through the whole 15 minutes together. Hello, how are you? All is good. Good. If you have any questions or things, just write them. Today we're doing a structural activity, and it's for all those people who are like, okay, enough exploring. I want to actually write a piece of my play. Today's the good day for you. What you're going to need is a big blank piece of paper, and I mean big. Normally I use my famous butterfly book here, but oh, Derek's here. Hi, Derek. Derek was actually the person who officiated my wedding. Can you believe here? He's my star brother. So you're thinking about either a scene from your story or your entire story. We're going to do a structural activity. We're going to use those parietal lobes. We're going to look at the energy and structure of your piece. So either start thinking about the whole outline of your piece. You can do that, the whole story for this activity, or just pick one scene that you want to learn the outline about. Either way, it's going to work. You need a big blank piece of paper and maybe some colorful pencils if you have it. So pause if you have to. Hi, Calder. Hi, Tamara. Hi, everybody. Katie's here too. Oh, good. All the regulars. So I'm going to show the charity really quick because that's one of the big things we're doing right now. This is the Frontline Fund. They're helping frontline workers all across Canada during this crisis. Frontlinefund.ca. If you do show me proof of donation, even if it's a $5 donation, I'll read some of your work and give you feedback for free. Today, I want you to think about change. And I think my first video, if you watch it, was about change, moments of change. But change is so central to storytelling. And we say in storytelling, a character needs to change or a character needs to die. They need to adapt to their situation and evolve, or they need to be destroyed by their environment. And every single story follows basically that trend. The person either changes and grows, or they get destroyed, right? I was thinking a lot about Seinfeld, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the last episode, but Seinfeld is famously the show where nothing happens. It's a show about nothing. That's the log line, right? And the reason why they're playing with the absurd idea that these characters refuse to change no matter what happens to them. Every episode they go through a horrible experience because of their hubris. Every episode they end up back at that table at the cafe, unchanged, refusing to grow, refusing to be good people, a show about nothing, right? So maybe your play is playing with like anti-change, but still needs to, this activity will still work for you. And the last episode of Seinfeld, what happens is they're locked in jail together because they haven't helped somebody, that they filmed somebody getting robbed and laughed at them. They got through court and they get in jail. And the last scene is them sitting around in a jail cell together. And the camera pans out and they're just talking about everyday stuff like they're at the cafe. It's the whole ending is like the whole universe has caged them away and they have refused to change, so they're destroyed, right? They're done. So I want you to just think about what's the central change of my story? What's the big change? The thing that really is what the story is all about. And it can be a complicated question, and sometimes we have a lot of changes that kind of blur the lines. I'm gonna show you a little activity using some Tom Hanks. I have 3 Tom Hanks examples, 3 Tom Hanks movies. So bear with me, and I drew it out here too, which is kind of funny. Toy Story, right? What's the big change of Toy Story? There's a new toy in the house, right? And what's really interesting, if you look at the structure, here I have this little chart here that I put some colors for. There's that little intro A where it's before the new toy. There's B, that new toy arrives. And then most of the movie is actually C. It's adapting to the new toy, growing with the new toy, saving the new toy, becoming friends. It's a buddy-buddy piece, right? It's about them becoming friends and realizing they need each other. It's opposites attract. Woody and Buzz in the end accept that this new toy is okay. But actually, if you look at it, there's very little A. The change moment is very quick, and within the next scene, Buzz is out the window and we have to go save Buzz. Or Woody. Woody's out the window, we have to save Buzz. So most of the movie exists in C, after the change. We have Castaway, one of my favorite movies. I love survivor movies. And what's really interesting about this one is A, there's that big moment of leading up. What's the big change in Castaway? A man is cast away and left on an island to defend himself. That's the change, right? So A, there's a big chunk where we're getting ready for the Castaway. B, most of the movie is B. Most of the movie happens during the change. Most of the movie is him on the island changing. That's why the center of the movie is like finding fire. I've made fire, right? It's like changing himself. And then we have that moment at the end where he finds Helen Hunt and he finishes up, he adapts, he changes, right? But most of that movie is B. Most of that movie is the change. We stay in the change. Finally, we have Forrest Gump. And you might find this controversial, but actually I think Forrest Gump, the change really in Forrest Gump is about him getting a son. Somebody who loves him unconditionally, someone who understands him, somebody who gets Forrest. The whole movie, he's wandering through all these pieces of history, completely not changing. He never changes. He's the same innocent optimist throughout all these all these wild circumstances, right? And then in the very end, Jenny tells him you have a son. It's this little moment at the end. And then there's that final last scene where it's him and his son's like, I love you, I understand you, you're my dad, I'm like you. And Forrest Gump finally gets somebody who loves him unconditionally. That's a major change that he's been looking for his whole life, right? So most of that movie exists in the A. It's before the big change. It's the person building up towards their big change. I want you to look at either a scene or you can do the whole story if you know it. And I want you to do that for me. Draw some lines. Make it into 3 sections. There's the moment before the big change, the moment of the big change, and the moment after the big change, adjusting to the big change. I want you to think about what's the big change. If you don't know, just experiment with it. And I want you to divide your page exactly like that. How much do you think is going to be leading up to the change? A lot or a little? How much do you think is going to stay in the change? A lot or just a moment of change and then we're on to the adjustment period? And how much is that? So split your paper into A, B, C for me, and then we're going to start the activity. I'll give you 30 seconds. If you don't know, just try to guess. Use your parietal lobes. See what happens. This is just you thinking like, I think the play is going to be mostly in the B zone. I think it's mostly going to be the moment of change. I think the play is going to happen after the moment of change. So maybe I don't even see A and B and the whole play is C. Or maybe like we're leading up to the assassination of somebody, or we're leading up to a big historical event. So the whole play is like the audience knowing that we're building towards. Okay, so you either have outlined now for me a play, either a scene from your story or the entire story as an ABC, because every scene has a moment of change. Every monologue has a moment of change. Every line has a moment of change. So you can start small if you don't know the whole thing. I hope you're ready. It's a bit of a complicated one, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you a question every 30 seconds, and you're going to write in point form notes on this paper. And we're going to start in section B. So go to your section B. This is the moment of change. Did you think it's going to be the whole play? Did you think it's going to be a quick thing? It doesn't matter, but you're going to write these notes into section B. We're making a cheat sheet here. I'm going to ask you a question every 30 seconds. Just write your first answer, write some rough notes, keep it in the B section for now, the moment of change, the central change of the story. So my first question for you is I want you to just write down emotion words. What are the emotions of that moment? Not the moment before, not the moment after. What are 3 emotional words in 30 seconds that would describe how we're feeling in that moment? 30 seconds, go. Be specific. Is it rage or anger? Ten more seconds. Try to think of 3 emotions. We're just starting with emotions. I want you to write for 30 seconds 3 images. Just the images. Just write down the words. What comes to mind? 3 central images that come to mind when you think of this moment of change. 3 images. Go. 20 seconds. Ten more seconds. I want you to look at somebody's face in that moment and describe that face to me as much as you can, as much detail as you can in 30 seconds. And it can be anyone's face that comes to you. Maybe it's not the main character, but someone in that moment of change, describe their face. 30 seconds, go. Keep it in that B section of your cheat sheet. Describe how the face changes. What's the journey of the face? Fifteen more seconds. Okay, so the last thing I want you to write in section B is I want you to write one sentence that says, that explains to me, that defines for me this moment of change. How did it make the world change forever? How is the world changed forever? And if it's a completely personal, write that. Say, it didn't change the world. Nobody even heard it. Nobody even knew. Or maybe through this small butterfly wings, the whole world has transformed. You have to write in one sentence in 30 seconds. How does this moment change the world? Not just your character. Ten more seconds. Just be ambitious. How did this moment change the world? Okay, I want you to move to section C. So maybe your section C is very small. Like maybe you're like Forrest Gump, that like post-change moment is going to be just a fraction. Maybe we're never going to see it on stage or in your book. But let's just try to look at section C. This is the moment after the change. The change has happened. We've been hit with the shock of it. Some people have adjusted, other people maybe haven't. Now we're in the moment after. We're in the world after the change. And the first thing I want you to describe for me is I want you to just try to free write for 30 seconds, maybe even 45 seconds, about what pieces of the old world are still there. What parts of before the change have stayed after the change? What's still there from the A after the B? Try for 45 seconds. See what comes up. Point form, be messy. 30 seconds. What's still there? What hasn't changed? What pieces of the past remain? Fifteen more seconds. I want you to think more visually. Is this one of those like the big change happened and everything winds down now? Or has the change happened and has it started a fire and spiked up? Or has it created a distance between two characters where one's gone up, one's gone down? Or a friction that now has to go and return to stasis? Or has it calmed everything down? I want you to draw some lines in section C or some images for 30 seconds. Just doodle visually, not words. What does after the change look like in a visual line? Lines. 20 seconds. Just doodle. Be messy. Put it in the C section, this doodle. The C section? Ooh, okay. Trust your instincts. Maybe you don't know, but what does your emotion tell you? Can it calm down? Will it ever calm down? Does it go to a star into 5 directions? Is it a big bang? 5 more seconds. Ugh. So the last thing I want you to do in one sentence for section C is I want you to think about the word adjustment. And I want you to write in one sentence, how does your character adjust? Maybe well, maybe not well. Maybe they lose a piece of themselves. Maybe they find a piece of themselves. Maybe they're forever changed. And you can even write that sentence in the comments if you want. We'll talk about it in our last minute together. I blabbed too much today. One sentence to describe the adjustment. How did your characters or your story adjust to this change? 5 more seconds. Little cutie. So what you've done now is you've taken that moment of change that's going to make your story or your scene happen. You've identified how much weight does it have. Is the whole story that moment of change, or is that moment of change something that happens quick and then the whole story's after? Or is that moment of change something that's looming and coming and the whole story's building towards it? You thought structurally about the moment of change. And maybe you discovered what your moment of change is. Maybe you're wrong about what your moment of change is. Maybe you thought it was about this, but it's actually about that, right? Like, it's hard. When we find the central change of our story, it's sometimes intuitive rather than obvious. Sometimes there's a lot of changes that happen around it that distract us. But really, before you write anything, it's good to just think, how much weight am I putting in this? So if you notice that if your section is like Forrest Gump, and you've been writing section C for like 4 days, you're going to be like, listen, my whole story is supposed to be section A. Why am I always going back to section C? Do I need to expand section C, or do I need to keep going, right? Or do I need to focus more on the parts I'm avoiding, right? The meat and potatoes of my story. I want you to think structurally about every scene. How does it work? Does the moment of change happen fast or slow? Does the moment of change happen in the middle, in the end, or the beginning? I also wanted to remind you that some of the old videos that I've made, this is the 12th one, I think, but they're great for starting a story. They're great for discovering things, but you can go back to those activities in the middle of your story and deepen what you're learning and explore it again, right? Or you can even go when you're done writing your draft and really test your theories. Are you right about this character? Is there more to be discovered? Those old videos and activities work no matter what area, what level of your no matter what stage of your creation you're at. I got some good comments here. A plot point that I never thought of before. Oh, that's great. She now trusts she can do it on her own. And what I like about that too, Katie, is now. So it makes me think, this is what I was going to say. So I really focused on B and C, right? I focused on what was in the middle, the actual thesis, the change. I focused on what happens after. Now, what I want you to do right now, take 10 minutes. This was your warm-up, so keep going. Don't lose steam. Don't go on Facebook first, unless you're going to like and share this video. But go for 10 minutes and write section A. Write the moment before. Even write like 5 minutes before it happened. Stay really present with it. You know what's coming, the emotion and the energy and the change. You know where it's leading and how people are going to go. You're figured that out. So let's write now after figuring all that out. Let's stay true to that moment before we knew all that and try to hint about what's coming through that moment before. This is great. Oh, Derek also adjusted it to their own project. A lot of these activities could work for essay writing, for poems, for anything you want to do. So thank you all very much for joining me. Please join me again on Monday. I have a really cool activity planned for you. I think I went overtime again because I talked too much. But you're all amazing. Share it with one friend personally. Tell them to check out this activity, someone who needs a structural kick in the butt. Thank you all for coming. Be sure to support the charity. The Frontline Fund is really important. Take care of yourself. Keep writing, keep going. You're all the best. Goodbye.